Welcome back to PH Project Car, and what you see here is our Mk5 VW Golf GTI hooked up to a dyno. That's right, we've done tyres, we've done brakes, we've done suspension, and we've even upgraded the driver. All that's left to do is power. This is PH Project Car, a 2006 VW Golf GTI Mk5 that we're turning into a Mark 8 Golf R Beta using parts and accessories from eBay. We've already eaten up $7,200 on buying the car, improving mechanical grip and stopping power, leaving us with £2,800 to spend on engine and drivetrain mods. And if you're new to the series, why not subscribe? We're giving away this very car to a viewer at the end of the year, so stick around for more details on that later. In the meantime though, I'm heading back to BRS Automotive to get our GTI a prescription for power. PH Project Car is coming along so well. I had this at Brands Hatch the other day. I was on the GP loop, and those new tyres, suspension and brakes just make such a massive difference. In fact, when we took this to Kerbera a few weeks ago, it actually was 2.4 seconds faster than when I set a time in it in completely stock form. So that's a fair chunk of the ground that we have to make up found in that first set of mods. But you know why I'm here. You know what we need to do next. I need more power. So what do you recommend?
So I'm thinking power-wise, obviously we've done suspension, tyres. I think now we need to go for more air, better exhaust flow, bigger intercooler, and see if we can do something with fuel. So induction kit, I think, bigger intercooler, sports cat for better exhaust flow, and then I think we'd do something with the fuel pump for a bit more fuel.
Cool, sounds good to me. So why don't you go and get the car ready, and I'll find the bits we need from eBay.
Sounds good.
As we're giving PH Project Car away to one of you lot, we want to make sure that the parts that go into our GTI are of the very best quality. With certified recycled by eBay, we can buy parts from certified sellers knowing they've gone through rigorous testing by authorised automotive recyclers. You're also covered by eBay's money-back guarantee, and in some cases, you get a seller warranty. But as we're looking to ramp up the GTI's power from stock, we're using a host of eBay tools to find parts that are a little more aftermarket.
I've been on a bit of a shopping spree, and I'm going to take you through what I've bought. What you're about to see comes to around about £2,500, which leaves me with just enough cash to get the GTI remapped a little bit later on. So let's get to it. Here's what I've bought. First up, a sports cat. What you see here is a Miltech system that goes with our catback upgrade that was done by one of PH Project Car's previous owners. Now the aim of the game here is to improve airflow and reduce back pressure. Our existing catback system improves airflow from the catalytic converter all the way to the exhaust outlet, whereas the sports cat frees up airflow right from the turbo back, completing our Miltech exhaust system. Speaking of airflow, we've got ourselves an induction kit. This one's by Revo, who are the masters of tuning all things VAG, and this should help massively improve airflow by replacing the restrictive intake and airbox. More airflow usually means more power, so we're expecting a decent power hike with the upgrade that we've got here. Next, intercooler. It's one of the most important upgrades at this stage of the build process. With all that extra airflow from the induction kit and new exhaust system, we need to find a way of cooling it down to increase performance. So we've got this Revo intercooler from eBay to match the other Revo bits that we're putting into the car. Finally, a new clutch and flywheel. Now, I didn't actually need to change gear during my hot lap around Kerbera. I could just leave it in third and get around the whole lap. But because we're putting in so much more power, it seemed like the smart thing to do to put in a beefier clutch to go along with it. So how much power are we talking about here? Well, the GTI in stock form has 200 horsepower, so we're hoping somewhere in the region of 250 to 260 horsepower with all the new mods. Now, first it's going to need a remap to tie all of those mods together. But before we get to that, Pip's going to need to get all of this stuff into the GTI, so let's get to it.
On goes the intercooler, which is considerably heavier than the stock version, but is also substantially larger. Fitting is dead simple too after you've bolted on the provided adapters.
They do a couple of versions of these. And we've fitted quite a few where you effectively add the intercooler to the front of the car, leaving the existing one in place, whereas this one, you remove the original intercooler and it goes in between the radiator and the aircon condenser. And to be fair, I mean, it fits beautifully. It's a really, really, really good fit.
Yeah, it looks like it's a really good quality.
It is, yeah, it's nice. Yeah. And it was nice to fit as well. Like I say, it's really, everything lines up and fits, and it's nice because obviously the old one's off, the new one's on, and we don't retain anything from the old one. So yeah, really, really nice fit.
Now I think a lot of people are just tempted to go straight to doing an induction kit, but it's really important to fit an intercooler right. What's the benefits of going for this over just having the standard version?
Well, I mean, it's larger capacity, so it's more air in.
Yeah.
And obviously, because the whole thing's alley, you get, you know, in terms of heat dissipation, so it cools the air more efficiently than the stock intercooler.
Awesome. Well, now this is on, what are we looking at next?
So I think, get the rest of this back together. We're going to take the top of the airbox off, which is built into the engine cover, and then start taking apart the exhaust, and then finish off on the induction kit.
Right, we've clearly got the old cat off. Now, this didn't look particularly easy at all, Pip. What was going on when you were trying to get this off?
A couple of things, mainly the 4 bolts in the head of the cat. 2 came off really nicely, and 2 have sheared into the turbo itself, which creates a little bit of a problem, possibly anyway. I think we may be able to extract the studs, but failing that, we might have to take the turbo off and drill them out.
Is this quite a common thing on these? Because it seemed like something you were worried about before we got into this.
Yeah, I've snapped my fair share of them, but it's just if you think they're hot, cold, hot, cold, hot, cold, and then, you know, water ingress and stuff like that, it's corroded the bolts, and as much kind of lubricant we put on them, they still didn't want to come out. So,
well, it has created more work for you, but we have a new Sport Cat system.
Yes.
So this one looks like it's got a much larger diameter compared to this. What are the benefits of going with this new Sports Cat?
It's just a much, much higher flowing exhaust system. I mean, diameter alone, so you can get more exhaust gas out, and you've got a much higher flowing cat as well. So from a performance point of view, once it's all mapped in, that will be a good choice on modification.
Nice. And well, actually, while we're under here, we can see basically the way that this Sports Cat's going to work. So we're keeping the catback system that was in the car originally. So this is the old Miltech system. So you can see there's a massive gap going all the way down here to the turbocharger, but we're keeping this section onwards to the exhaust outlet. The big question is, just how much power will this all produce? Here it is, PH Project Car in its final form. Now I've got Luke here from Revo, and he actually designed some of the bits that we've put into the car at the moment, particularly this really interesting induction system. Now I hear the base airbox in this is quite restrictive, right?
It is, yeah. I mean, when they were designing it, airboxes of old were way more restrictive than what they are nowadays. The one on the Mk5 platform especially, because it was actually designed as part of the whole engine cover itself. It was quite a convoluted sort of way in terms of how it was trying to get the air through the system. It heat soaked really badly by sitting on top of the engine as well. So there was a lot of ways that we could really refine it. And obviously with the Revo intake here, you can see just how sort of much extra airflow we can now get through the system by taking out all the convoluted bends that were there before.
There is a slight power increase, but we're not done yet, are we?
No, the key to the hardware, to be honest, is combining it with the software. They work hand in hand. One unlocks the other, essentially, with the way it goes. Stage 1 software is amazing on a completely stock car. You don't need to change anything. But as soon as you start adding the hardware, again, we need to just change certain values, get the most out of the hardware, the extra airflow, the better cooling from the intercooler. Combine all those parts together, and that's where we end up with the best package. And it's why we do so many what we call performance packs, which is combining the software and hardware together as a kit for your car as a one-stop sort of fit.
So we're going for a stage 2 plus, correct? Yep. So what kind of output do you think we'll have after that's all sorted?
On a healthy car, we'd usually expect to see anywhere between 250 to 280 sort of horsepower, so a decent increase from stock.
That's better than I was expecting. I can't wait to see what this is going to be like when it's all done. So we need to kick off the remapping process. So what's on today's agenda then? What do we need to do?
So anytime any car comes into ourselves or one of our dealers, we'd always start by giving the car a full health check first. We don't want to be increasing any sort of power without making sure that car is 100% healthy, good to go and everything else. We'll go out and data log that car, make sure that the values that we're expecting to see is what it's achieving, make sure it hasn't got any boost leaks, etc., stuff like that. Once we're happy with that, we can then flash the car with the process there. We'll install the Stage 2 software, or Stage 2 Plus in this case, sorry, onto the car. We can then go and data log the car again. Now, the brilliant thing on the TFSI platform as well is it actually has, within the software, extra adjustability for both the boost, fuel and timing.
Right.
So we'll have some base settings that we'll put in there. We'll go data log the car, make sure we're happy, and then if we need to make any adjustments, we can do that manually as well.
Perfect. And then a dyno run at the end of the day, right?
And then we're going to put it on the dyno and just see, yes.
Yes, can't wait for that. All right, I'm too excited. Let's get cracking. Admittedly, the remap process isn't quite as eye-catching as watching Pip's snap bolts on a 17-year-old turbo, but it's just as important. The ECU is currently telling the car to operate in stock form, yet the new parts we fitted are channeling a lot more air into the engine. Remapping essentially updates the ECU to make sure the engine is better optimized with the upgrades we've introduced. And because I'm desperate to see the results, Revo has kindly, or stupidly, let me loose on their dyno. Dyno time! I can't wait to see how much power our GTI now produces. Now we've got all the bits in it and it's been remapped. Now we don't have a rolling road, we're actually using a wheel dyno, so we're going to be measuring the power output here in wheel horsepower and not brake horsepower. It's going to be a slightly smaller number, but it's going to be more accurate to what our GTI is producing. Just FYI, this isn't a service Revo usually produces, but they're just as excited as I am to see how much power the GTI makes. Now, we do have a target here. From what we calculated early on in this build, we're going to need 270 brake horsepower to be on the same power to weight ratio as the Golf R, which gives us a target of around 240 wheel horsepower. Read it and weep, 239.87 wheel horsepower. And if you add 14% on top of that, which is apparently the conversion that you need from wheel horsepower to horsepower at the flywheel, you'd be looking at just over 273 horsepower, which is bang on what we need to match the power to weight ratio of the Golf R. And it also lands our car in an absolute sweet spot. Too little, and obviously we wouldn't be able to keep up with the Golf R, but too much and we would just understeer off, because remember, we don't have any expensive differentials going on in here to help manage the power coming out of the corners. What you see now is what you're going to get for the PH Project Car finale.
So better hit that subscribe button and maybe leave us a like while you're down there. I'll also leave a link to eBay Certified Recycled so you can check it out for yourself. And if you want this car right here, click the link in the description, enter the competition, and PH Project Car could be yours.
This is what it's all been building up to. After months of work, our project car is finally ready and raring to go. Watch out, Golf R, we're coming for you.